into this game. We've got Liquid at 2-2. They are more or less qualified for LATAM League finals. MIBR 3-2. Let's meet the players here. Let's have a look at the roster. And on the other side of this, we'll be back to talk about the match that's coming up.
Qualified for the Copa Elite 6 and sitting comfortably at second in the table, Team Liquid could take the remaining matches as high-level training. If we look at the last match between Liquid and MIBR, it could be said that it didn't look very different from a scrim.
Esse jogo contra a Liquid não foi o nosso estilo. A gente estava com a cabeça dispersa e sem chance de classificação, então entramos bem frios.
E eles estavam desfalcados, né? O Box não estava jogando. Eu acho que vai ser diferente o jogo. Eles são um time muito forte, que também gostam de adaptar, fazer algumas leituras no meio de round. Tem que entrar atento contra esses times, né? Não pode bobear ali, porque qualquer brecha que eles verem é uma oportunidade para eles fazerem alguma jogada.
Parla is right about one thing. You can't falter in the face of Liquid and company. MIBR is almost obliged to look at today's game as an opportunity to strengthen their position in the top 6, as the team still fights to compensate for lost points during Stage 2. But if we want to get a glimpse of what's coming, just remember that in this year alone, Liquid and MIBR have faced up no less than 6 times, with Liquid taking 4 victories against MIBR's 2. However, looking at the changes within Team Liquid, MIBR should see an opportunity to change their past experience and take home some points.
Esse jogo contra a Liquid eu acho que vai ser mais tranquilo, eles vão estar com line nova, não vai estar adaptado ainda do estilo deles e eu acho que vai ser de boa.
Ficar atento, principalmente com aquelas brechas que às vezes que geram no meio da partida, o Reduct gosta de explorar elas.
These two teams are used to playing decisive games, such as the Copa Elite 6 final and the Invitational playoffs. Who will win in the 7th face-off of 2021? Find out next in the clash between MIBR and Team Liquid.
Well, we're going to get stuck in as soon as the players are standing by ready to go. But let's talk about this matchup, this head-to-head between these two players. Liquid have long been one of the bigger teams in this division, and last week comfortably dispatched W7M 7-2. On the other hand, however, MIBR, they really tested Team 1, forcing them to an overtime, which they obviously lost at the end of it. But that was a big match for MIBR, and then obviously they also beat W7M 7-5 last week. Ollie, talk us through the form that these two teams are coming into. I mean, both of them have lost 2. MIBR has won 3 to Liquid's 2, but not exactly what we expect from Liquid, perhaps?
Yeah, I think Liquid is still in that sort of transitional stage at the moment. Obviously, with Ask and resets being brought in, there's still a bit of a question mark in terms of, you know, how they can stack up really against these experienced teams where they really are going to get pushed the distance. So far, we've seen a bit of a mixed bag from that. We've seen them perform on some days and then not on others. So we're still looking for that, for the same level of consistency that we used to expect from Liquid. But obviously, it's going to take a long time to sort of develop. MIBR, on the other hand, bringing Fleepox back into the squad. He is now all fit and well, and he's really showing up. For last week, Fleepox was the highest rated player on the side of MIBR, so it just goes to show how much he's really pouring his heart and soul into this now. He recognises that he couldn't have played last stage, obviously played on the controller, tried everything that they could, but now that he's back, it seems like he's better than ever, and MIBR are really starting to show that. There's still a few cracks, because obviously they haven't been playing with him as consistently as they would have liked to have been, but that magic's still there.
And it just goes to show how key he is in that lineup, because really just a shocker of a stage, the last one, Gio, for this team. But Gio, talk us through the map bans here. Talk us through what we're going to see as we head into our first game here at Playday 7 of the BR6. I know we can probably have a look at what the map vetoes were, and Gio, talk us through what you're expecting here, mate.
Yeah, this is going to be quite interesting because they both played quite different sorts of maps last week. MIBR banning Chalet. I'm actually really happy to see that because even though they beat W7M on Chalet, I have to say a lot of that has to be attributed to some of the weird operator picks that W7M were making, not bringing a hard breacher, and I think we saw quite a bit of flaw out of the way that MIBR were playing. So I'm glad to see that that one has been removed. Team Liquid did really well on Oregon, which is still still in the pool right now. Team Liquid getting rid of Bank. I don't believe they've played that at all yet. There's the Oregon going. So we're actually going to be going to Kafe Dostoevsky. And this one's really intriguing to me just because I feel like we're seeing a little bit more Kafe than we have done in previous stages. A lot of these teams have kind of figured out Oregon. They know what they're doing there. And that's kind of the next sort of stomping grounds to be doing that in.
It's interesting seeing Kafe the pick there, and you're right in saying that in stage number 2, we didn't see a lot of it before the LATAM League Finals. The BR6 was when Kafe really started to be played. I don't know if people were holding strats or something for that map, but it was something that really took a while to come out of the woodwork there. Let's talk about these two teams in greater depth here. MIBR, we'll start with them. Philippok's coming back after an injury. He was playing on a Guitar Hero controller last time around. This time he should be playing on the mouse and keyboard. And hopefully, Gio, we'll see better stuff from MIBR, just as we've seen so far from them. A return to form for this team with their star player, Philippok.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping as well. I mean, MIBR have not had a super dominant showing so far in Stage 3. The only really dominant wins they've had have been on the first weekend, Playdays 1 and 2, 7-3 against Black Dragons, and 7-4 against Ints. Past that, they've actually been taken quite the distance by a number of teams. FaZe Clan had a pretty big game over them, and then there was that close one between MIBR and Team 1. But what we are seeing, and I think this is the most pivotal thing, is you can see that the ideas that MIBR are trying to execute, they actually are able to do that. Now, whether or not those become successful because another team can counter them or whatever, that's irrelevant. That's just part of the game. But the fact that you can kind of see that cohesion in the way that they're thinking and trying to act on that, that's something that wasn't really there in Stage 2, because you could see that Bodega was trying to get these ideas through into the team when he was standing in for them, or when Philippok was on the controller or whatever, and they just didn't have what they needed to actually execute on those ideas.
It's looking much better now. You can see here they're huddling up, getting ready to go, and their adversaries here, the formidable Team Liquid. We have seen this team be an absolute titan of the scene here for quite a while, Ollie. But we've talked about the fact that they're in a transitional phase. A couple of roster changes has shaken up their dominance, I guess, if we want to put it that way. And they'll be looking to find some form here and improve on their 2-2 results so far in this stage.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, the map is almost the sort of biggest question mark for me here in terms of what we're going to be seeing today between these two teams. The fact that MIBR have chosen to take Liquid to Kafe really just start to raise quite a few questions. Not only are we dealing with a map that isn't often played inside of the BR6, but Liquid, whilst they have got a very thorough and deep map pool, it's limited in somewhat by the fact that they've rarely played Villa and they rarely play Kafe. They are two maps that they really try and keep close to their chest and don't try and play all too often. So I think that there's potential for Liquid to be a little bit surprised here with that choice. And then you throw into it the fact that obviously they're playing with, Ask and Reset still trying to develop as that new team and not quite sort of shake off the stereotype of old, because those two players are doing a very good job of filling the roles that they have now to do. We look at someone like Ask. He's already got 7 plants so far inside of this stage, so he's doing really well for himself. I'll be honest, I'm just looking forward to this one because I really don't know which way it's going to go.
Well, we're not going to keep you from it any further, my friends. It's time to head down to Kafe. Our first match of Playday 7 here at the BR6 is beginning right now with your casters, Ollie and Gio.
Thank you very much indeed, Riley. We are ready to get sent on through into Kafe. Kicking things off. MIBR versus Liquid, and some things, Gio, no matter where we go, no matter what day it is, no matter which teams are playing, some things, they don't change.
I was going to be like, I'm really looking forward to this being a super juicy game. It's going to give us really good ideas as to where these two teams stand, given the changes Team Liquid have made and MIBR trying to bounce back. And that's like the least juiciest thing that we could have started the day off with. A Flores ban, not too bad. Interesting one here on Kafe, I suppose. If you think about moving the way you have to move through the floors to clear utility, Flores is actually not a bad operator to get rid of. But, we'll see if not having something like a Nomad, for example, taken off instead is going to make much of a difference.
I think the Nomad or the Flank Watch is really going to make quite a big bit of difference. The Thatcher ban just bores me. It really does. Because...
Can we ban Thatcher bans? Can we ban bans?
Yeah, like... At what point can we ban bans? Because I guarantee you won't see that many teams running it, and it won't be like an every round thing just because
It'll
of
be
how
like Mirror,
used to...
right?
Exactly. I think teams have forgotten how Thatcher works at this point. Maybe we need a refresher course on that. But as the bans close out, Wamai and Valkyrie are going to be the two defenders removed. So nothing too unusual. Valkyrie, such a great operator on Kafe. Wamai, renowned as well, has basically got a call out named after him at this point in terms of pixel on that top floor. That's exactly where you expect to see a Wamai played. But neither of those two available. No flank watch initially being chosen here by MIBR, but they are going for the Nook pick, which speaks to a little bit of aggression. We've seen quite a lot of Nook so far this stage, Gio.
Well, when I think of the Nook now, I just think of Alamau on bank.
Yeah, I think of STK, because a couple of weeks before, I think it was when I was doing it with Demo, STK had a couple of really good days. But yeah, like they're the two that spring to mind.
But it was that bank game that was against MIBR. So MIBR have clearly just reviewed those bots and they've been like, you know what? We're going to like steal a little something from this. And I'm actually very interested to see how it's going to turn out. I can't say that Kafe Dostoevsky is the map that I would, by default, associate with playing a Nook, but it could be an intriguing one. I mean, the thing is not going against a Valkyrie, as you say. We're not going against an Echo. So there aren't tons of cameras, especially if you consider default cams going to be taken down. I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, barbed wire is really going to be Liquid's friend here, particularly on those staircases that could lead up. I think a Nook on Kafe, and I think a Nathan from Navi, and I think of what he was able to achieve in a couple of games, and it really can be devastating. Nook can be devastating anywhere, but it really is all about how it is deployed. At the moment, Fleepox looks like he's getting himself in through Bakery, being droned up there by his teammates. There's quite a bit of site setup gone in here from Team Liquid. They've brought both a castle and an Aruni, which really speaks to quite a large amount of setup, and we heard that setup going till well into 30 seconds into the actual round. The drone will slip by there. Liquid happy to wait. They know that they really don't need to do too much moving around here, and it seems as though everyone's pretty happy in the position that they're in.
Yeah, I mean, you could just see there actually up on the Heaven balcony, or which I've seen on Twitter at the moment is a point of contention as to which balcony is considered Heaven. And it is true, I've heard people refer to both balconies as Heaven, but I'm talking about the cocktail balcony. The default cam up there was flashing blue, which is part of the reason Team Liquid didn't really need to move, because they were being watched. Ask is having some real issues with these drones right now, but he's going to throw one of the toxic vape canisters, especially after those ADS got removed off the wall, making him significantly less safe here in Cigar.
I think it was a good call because everyone knows he's out of ammo in his SMG trying to shoot drones. He's going to see even more pressure now as MIBR look to try and drop it. Cleans him up like a spilt drink there. Really nothing that Ask could do in that circumstance. He's wasted a little bit of time. There's a minute left on the round and Palu is waiting to strike. Now, no nomads, no air jabs, no gridlock, nothing of that nature. There is going to be nothing really stopping Palu from making this move. Obviously, a drone, an active drone, will be a little bit of a problem, but with nobody dead on the side of MIBR, it's unlikely anybody is in the drones. Palu, he's choosing his time very well here as he moves on through, finds the kill. Nesk picks up one onto Fowls as well, and now it is advantage Liquid for the next 35 seconds. Felipox doesn't really know which way to turn right now. Nesk going to shut Luca down on the long angle. It hasn't been dealt with at all inside of Piano. Now, with Felipox making his way up those brown stairs, there really is not a lot that him and Reduct can do. Reduct, desperate hatch drop maybe. The diffuser being cold on the ground is not going to be ideal at all as Palu cleans Felipox up as well. Reduct, he's going to try and push on through, but that flank from Palu, Gio, devastating stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. That definitely seems to be part of the main way that Team Liquid were able to execute that round, I should say. And I was also going to say just the blood splatters on the wall was such a testament to how hard fought that was in Cigar there. I was just want to say, I'm really glad they just put up the FOV. I thought I was going crazy. I was like, why do I feel so close to the action?
I feel like I was casting through binoculars.
Did you? I was going to like I was just thinking, am I making this up in my head? Have I just not been in the zone for long enough? No, I wasn't going crazy. But no, regardless, they tried really hard to hold on to Cigar, and that makes sense. It's an important place to hold, and if you can, as an attacker, get control of that room, then you get so much more space to work with as you move on through the map. They had a lot of setup for that part of the map. We had the Aruna Gates, we had the ADSs, we had our anchor with the Toxic Babe canisters for the denial. It was just the way that Team Liquid were pressuring onto it actually made it really hard for all of those things in conjunction with one another to be that effective.
It's one of the best top floor holds that we've seen on this map throughout anything that I can really remember inside of Stage 3. We've not seen a top floor hold that was as comprehensive as that. And in part, it was due to the flank from Palu. Now, that's a player that if you give any amount of time or space to, he's going to punish you for it. But the long angle that Nesk was holding as well, there was a lot of things there that MIBR just chose to not deal with at all. And that's a little bit worrying. It's also worrying now that we're seeing them, we know that they're going to be attacking into somewhere else. They're actually going to be attacking into that mid floor. Yet they've chosen not to bring any sort of flank protection again. They know that Palu's going to be out there, testing it with a C4, but the timing just doesn't work out there for him. Palu is going to be getting droned out on this top floor pretty quick. Maybe the flank watch won't matter this time if he gets himself taken out early, but it's still something that MIBR need to think about.
Palu 100% one of those players that when he's having an on day, he's just formidable. So someone to be very worried about. You got PSK just waiting downstairs. Now, there's a pretty decent presence up here on the top floor. They've got to clear out this pixel spot. Nesk hasn't quite been fully deterred yet. The diffuser's got to be recollected outside. He's just watching out for both of these two ends of the white corridor as well, but there isn't a ton of pressure from both sides right now.
Foul's falling as that opening kill. It removes a lot of options for later on into the round. You think about process of attacking into this site, and you need to get that top floor control. With the way that Liquid have set up some of those reinforced walls into Freezer particularly would be nice to get rid of, or at least into Cocktail Balcony. Failing that, you maybe want to get open onto the site if you get enough time toward the later part of the round, and that now just isn't an option. Resets gets punished for peeking there by Lucid. He's able to land his shots and actually aggressively push on through, rocking the LMG, so he knows that magazine count isn't going to be an issue, and Redux actually takes Palu down. I thought that Palu's positioning there was going to be nice for him, but instead he loses his life in the Freezer, and this top floor take looks a little bit more successful here from MIBR.
Still holding on to the site down below, but the important thing here, as you say, is that top floor take. Ask just exhibiting some trigger discipline there. And he does finally get the kill onto Lucid. That evens things out as far as man count goes, and there is plenty of time for MIBR to act on at this point. They have a lot of control upstairs. There we go, there's the down and the kill that they needed, finally clearing up. It's only Nesk remaining. Now, because it's Nesk, this could go one of two ways. This could absolutely be a clear up from him, but he is absolutely in a disadvantageous spot. There's the first one. Is he gonna see the second? No. MIBR take round 2.
It's not every game so far that we've seen Nesk start out 4-1. That's dangerous. That's all I'm going to say about it. Liquid lost that round. It's valid. Nesk hasn't had a pop-off stage so far. He hasn't been competing in and amongst those top players as we usually expect him to. But this game is already looking pretty dangerous for Liquid. Both him and Palu are stepping up in a big way, and it's taken MIBR to really brute force their way through that top floor take to actually be able to get anything done there. They had a man count advantage at the end, and their information gathering, particularly onto PSK, was second to none. That swing from Redux was fantastic. He knew exactly where he needed to be going there to clear out PSK lurking on that ground floor. But again, it was a 1 versus 1, so something that you really don't want to be putting all of your hopes and dreams onto. Now, Team Liquid, they're going to keep this rotation going. They're going to take us downstairs into Kitchen. That should be removed. Gives option to Kitchen being a little bit more viable. Palu's going to be rocking Cade with those Electroclaws. We've also got the Tachanka from Ask. Now, there's an argument, you know, a Tachanka or a Smoke. What would you prefer here? think, honestly, with the way that we've seen Ask controlling that SMG, I think he's probably better off today, Gio, on the Tachanka. I'll be honest.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe he just needs to warm that up a little bit before he goes back for the SMG 11 a bit later on in the game. Tachanka, again, obviously could be very useful here just to be able to flood the site with fire should you need to, especially if you want to, I don't know, even just cut off one of the entrances, because Kitchen's an interesting site where you have entrances on direct opposite ends of the site. So if you consider over towards Freezer and then you consider over towards Bakery, being able to cut off one of those could be incredibly useful. Now, obviously, MIBR are going to have to decide what route that they want to take. The fact that Team Liquid have a Kaid available suggests that it's going to be a bit of a hassle to try and go in through a freezer hatch. You do also have VIP being held, so if I'm MIBR, I'm probably not going to look to come in that way. You can see most of them up on the other side of the map anyway.
Bit of a smoke hop in here into Wed, and that's going to give Redux all of the cover that he needs to make his way on through. PSK are going to be hiding out in coat check. Nesk just at the double door. It's a fancy way of going about taking into Bakery for MIBR, but it's got the job done at least. They've spent quite a bit of the round to get themselves to this point, though. With the positions of Liquid, we're still seeing that trademark sit and wait. There is no reason for Liquid to move right now. They don't need to try and overextend. They don't need to go for this flank just as of yet. And honestly, there isn't really much of an option for it unless somebody gets themselves white stairs and goes all the way around. But MIBR are just slowly but surely going to start working their way on this kitchen wall. Ask does have the ability to deny a little bit of the area here. It does come through. C4 in the hands of Palu as well. Rap's now making that rotation. That's going to free PSK up in and around that main door if he does want to try and get a bit aggressive. In fact, it's going to be Nesk to make the play. Redux is going to be holding on into the site. How much does Nesk want to push that before getting himself through? He instead thinks better of it. A lot of unsurety on the side of MIBR at the moment, and they're really taking the time, making sure that this wall is going to be open and that the players are sufficiently stunned. But Lukid is going to open the account with a kill onto Ask. The plant now being attempted under the cover of Raps. Palu risking a C4 there. Is it going to go off in time? The answer is going to be no. It's shaping up for a flawless. Nesk is all that stands in their way. Lukid grabs his second kill on the round. MIBR a cracking execute onto the site.
Yeah, I mean, I had my questions about how slow they were being, not because I thought it was a problem, but because Team Liquid are so good at being disciplined and not overstepping their boundaries. One of my worries was that by the time MIBR made it onto the execute, Team Liquid would be perfectly positioned to deal with whatever it was. But MIBR getting that perfect opening kill is all they needed, and everything started falling down around Team Liquid after that. You get rid of the denial so quickly, there's nothing to stop them from actually getting on with the plan, because the problem that Team Liquid have to face then is, right, we either try and deny the plant, but we get killed because there are crossfires being held because they've had such a methodical site set up, or we go for the people holding the crossfires and the plant goes down and there are other people who are going to be able to react and kill us anyway. That's the position that Team Liquid were in. MIBR very, very well set themselves up for that. And that was, as you say, just an excellent execute.
I'm wondering if either of these teams know that the rest of the map exists when you're attacking or defending Bakery.
I don't know.
Because to not see vertical pressure there and to just see a clean Bakery-sided take, like, aside from a ranked game, when was the last time that you saw a team just push in through Bakery and win?
It makes me wonder if, part of the reasoning for not doing it is because they know that they're not bringing flank watch.
It's wild to me.
It's crazy
Yeah.
that, you don't have a flank watch on your attacking side. Do you want to be sending one or two people upstairs to be opening up the floor? Especially after the way that Team Liquid have already shown that they're happy to flank.
Yeah. If Liquid are only going to flank if you're there, then just don't be there.
Exactly.
If Liquid aren't going to move if you're not there, then just stay where you are and just win. It really is looking as simple as that at the moment. Both teams, they're just going for slightly different approaches, I guess. And Liquid, I would assume to see them take a few more advantages here. But those advantages, it seems, are going to come in round number 4. Now, Ask got chunked down very early on, but the kills have been gotten for Liquid. Nesk and Palu. Two really stepping it up today. Nesk 6 and 2 so far. It really seems like this is going to be his game to shine. MIBR are just going to have to spend a little bit more time thinking, and it looks as though they could be going for a bit more of an east-sided take.
Reduct getting in there. He does get a bit of damage, though, and they obviously know where he is. So Palu's keeping an eye on that, but the window in his own room is also going to take some of his attention. It doesn't matter, though, because Nesk can pick up a kill, help out his buddy, and there's only 2 players of MIBR left remaining at this point. Fleetbox is going to try and play from down below, but that ping is not quite in the right area. So Palu's just, he does a little double take, sees that there's no one actually below that hole, and he's fine.
MIBR are really just playing for picks and playing for mistakes at the moment. We've got Fleetbox on the white stairs. He's going to be holding in into that piano area. Nesk has got so many options. This setup is so intricate in terms of the reinforcements and the panels that are left soft. Fleetbox will eventually find one onto Nesk, because Nesk does just get caught out there. A bit of ring around the rosy and unfortunate timing. Palu, he gets the refrag and shuts everything down. Vals drops himself off the rappel. He's in fact going to used to go in bottom of reading now, but is greeted with a hail of bullets. And PSK will find that final kill. He had a nice vertical angle there. Manages to land his shots eventually. TCSG not being too kind to him there. A couple of neck shots going in maybe, but around to Liquid nonetheless.
That was another example of, even though it wasn't quite as overt as it was in round 1, it was another example of Team Liquid having control of 2 different sides of MIBR, being able to bring them a victory. You know, with Nesk, for example, being on the other side of the map to where Palu was and providing that support. While it doesn't necessarily count as a flank in that instance, it's something that MIBR didn't have the resources or the manpower to be able to deal with. Now, you compare that to their bakery attack that they did back in round number 3, where they were all coming from one direction. There wasn't really any room behind them to punish. They didn't go off in other directions that could be punished. It was almost like a death ball. That is when Team Liquid couldn't actually do anything about it, because they were all on the other side of MIBR and they were all mercy to the crossfires that MIBR held to support the plant. It just makes you wonder if maybe that's going to be the weakness that pursues throughout the rest of this map, or at least on this half. Are MIBR always going to struggle if there's an opportunity for Team Liquid to come at them from 2 different directions?
MIBR really seem to have like a just take what we need sort of mentality, and I think that that needs to broaden a little bit, especially on that top floor, because Liquid are holding, as you say, every inch of that top floor, and you need to get in somewhere. Let's see if they go for a similar approach here into the kitchen. Previously we saw them just get themselves into wedding and bakery. This time Palu's actually going to be playing inside of bakery. It's at least going to be something to deal with. How much utility he's got set up in there remains to be seen, but looks as though it's a fairly soft take. Doesn't even have an ADS to his name there, so he could very easily be removed as the nades do start to come on through. Palu going to be trying to be electrotricking actually onto that prep wall. He does have Nesk on the Warden, so again, another active adaptation. Nesk was only playing Alibi last time, so it makes sense to bring the Warden as long as the shield can be gotten from elsewhere. First kill this time going in favor of Ask. He actually makes that SMG land and takes down Luca, Gio. Luca is a big player in this previous round.
Definitely. That's definitely a good start, because it was the opening kill that came in from MIBR last time they attacked onto this map that just had really bad repercussions for Team Liquid. Team Liquid are still getting really aggressive, and you can even see the way that they're positioning onto this breach differs from last time. They're way happier to actually push up onto it, be there to support one another. The trade positioning is great should they need it. So far, they have not. Palu's going to have to avoid that flash, and there's a great kill from Nesk. But Reduct turning things around. It's a 1 versus 2, essentially. And Palu just deals it all up. He's fine. I really think that the more aggressive stance from Team Liquid in this round was the adaptation that they needed.
Absolutely. There were some really nice little things that Liquid did there. And it's in the space of a couple of rounds, and this is what makes them one of the best teams inside of Brazil, is the changes that they were able to make. Bring in Palu on the Warden instead of the Alibi, still brings the shield. This time, removing the Tachanka and bringing Ask on the smoke. Those two things in itself were enough there because they had ideas, they had options, they had different things that were going to be going on there, how they wanted to try and hold that. And then Ask managing to land a couple of shots this time. The breach was much more aggressive. I think they'd left one of the walls actually soft and shot out the top of it, and it gave him something to peek off the back of there. So a really nice little change there from Liquid, and it shows that whilst they're happy to just maintain location and set up and let this attack come to them, they're also happy to meet that attack with some aggression.
Well, MIBR have the opportunity to even things out at the half now, which I think would be just very telling, given that we came into this game talking about what these two teams need to prove. These are still two of the top teams, but how good are they related to each other? If they even things out at the half, you just kind of go in knowing, yeah, we're in it for the long haul here. And I am getting that kind of vibe from this game. We spoke about the MIBR Team 1 game where it was just this constant micro adaptation round by round, and that's why it went all the way to 15 rounds. It's kind of similar here, you know, especially in that last round, for example, Team Liquid just changing one small thing about their defense to give them that round, which was on a site that MIBR had previously dominated. I feel like we could see that same inch by inch, step by step, just improvements with two very well-matched teams in this game.
This being the other side, the MIBR won, so as you mentioned, a chance for them to actually win 2 rounds consecutively on the same site. Or maybe a chance for Liquid to make those changes and make those adaptations. Already we can see it's not as an aggressive defense here from Liquid on that top floor. We've still got Palu upstairs, and in fact, he will be taken down. He did make that rotation into the freezer. Kind of surprised to see that. Palu was first pick last time as well, in that pretty much in that same spot. And we can see that Nesk and Resets have just got a little bit more to do between themselves now to make sure that this top floor is held for a little bit longer than just half the round.
Ooh, reaction time not quite enough. So shield gets blown up. C4 finally coming out. There we go, from PSK. Brings Luca down, a valuable kill. We spoke about it the previous round. But at least he managed to get something done with the lifelines before he was taken down, so we can't say that it was entirely in vain. Just looking at all these picks, essentially now, holding onto the angles through into the other side of the map. Redux gonna get yokai'd.
Yokai is going to be providing quite a bit of intel here as well, but Rap's still able to shut Resets down. Reset's getting caught out. Ask is really doing his best here, and he's setting Nesk up for a couple of kills if Nesk can find the positioning. There's plenty of players inside a cocktail. Nesk, please shoot at something! I don't think that Felipox actually saw him there, but Nesk is going to get swung almost instantly. Felipox cleans that kill up eventually, but that was a very big misplay. And now Ask has to try and make some sort of an aggressive stance. He does have the shotgun, going to draw for the SMG as he pushes himself up. There in 9 at close range. Ideal, and we've seen that Ask has been a little bit shaky already today, but with the top floor being ripped open now, there's going to be nowhere safe to stand. He finds one onto Raps and actually does manage to dip himself back. This is just going to alleviate the pressure that's on PSK at the moment. I say that, PSK gets himself taken down as well. Ask, can you keep these players off for long enough? If he finds the kill here on the vertical, he could deny the plant, but he will not do that. Felipox finds that second kill. Felipox really being given a second lease of life there and comes in big for his team.
Hey, so we ended up with that exact thing where it ended up at evening things out at the half, just that round by round. Again, MIBR, they had a really strong control there of the top floor, and actually it drew Team Liquid out of their positions. I mean, if you're asked, you had to at the end, really, which was something that earlier on in the game I commented was something that Team Liquid, they're disciplined, they're very good at staying in that same place that they always sit in and not being drawn out. So the fact that MIBR could do that, I think, is quite a notable thing. But of course, now the halves are going to switch. We're going to be going down to kitchen for MIBR's first defense. I suspect this is going to look quite a bit different to Team Liquid's defense just by having a look at the operators that they've chosen. We're not going to be having a Kaid, so that freezer hatch is not going to be as heavily guarded. Even the bakery wall, we don't have any direct breach denial because not even a mute has been brought. Instead, we've got 2 anchors, so they're playing way more for the plant denial. And I suppose you can add the info denial in there as well because of the Mozzie that's been brought along too.
It's really night and day differences in lineups on both sides because you've spoken there about the differences in what MIBR want to try and bring to the defense. But if you look at what Team Liquid want to bring to the attack, they're going to be bringing the flank watch, which is a sort of bit of a woohoo. You know, we were kind of asking for a flank watch for the longest time. And against a team like MIBR, you are going to need it because we know them to be a really good, accomplished team of roamers. And that lineup kind of speaks to that. You know, we can already see that we've got Reduct and Lucid both set up on that top floor. The site is going to be fairly open at the moment, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think that Liquid are going to go for a very direct push. They would have to be fairly quick about it. Instead, top floor take is going to be on the cards. Palu, no, it always... it's just such a nightmare, isn't it? Reduct, freest kill of his life. I tell you what, Palu, for the lightning quick start that he had, he's really started to slow down. Now, could we be seeing a bit of a late site push?
Maybe. I mean, Neski staying very close here to resets. I wonder if they're going to be using that boost to facilitate the execute. Lucid going down. No, he's been huge. Both of those kills coming from Ask again. He seems to have like one round where he's a bit shaky and then another round where he just pops off a little bit, causes a bit too much of a problem for MIBR. There goes the nade, but it doesn't quite force Raps out of the position. It would have likely cleared some utility behind him. He's still holding on to the angle out through the main door into the site. Can't yet see anybody, though.
I really enjoy the adaptation from Liquid. Palu gets killed on the top floor, and immediately they just say, right, push the site. There's someone on the top floor. We can take advantage of this. They clean Reduct down on the rotate. They clean Lucid down as well. Now there's Fleepox that remains on that top floor. PSK is going to have set up the majority of his air jabs at this point. He does still have one left in pocket. But Liquid do still need a plan to try and get themselves in here. Now the fact that they brought Palu on the book would suggest that they were going to be going for some sort of vertical control. Raps can start to try and burn the time out now as well. Ask, he's going to be greeted with just a line of sight in that freezer wall. So he's still going to have to use some Excalibur's pellets if they want to try and get in here. They aren't really in a position to do so. Fowls holding on into prep. He's got the long angle into wedding. PSK could see some advantage here if he takes this swing and takes it quickly. But no, we will lose the engagement. Nesk finds one over onto Raps. And look at all of the red pings available here for Fowls as he moves back from prep, back into kitchen. He's got an idea of just about where everybody is. He needs to rotate the Yokai drone around. 20 seconds left. There's still enough time to do so. Fleepox misses a couple of shots there and will actually allow Ask on into the site. Now, has that Yokai drone been able to be rotated? That's the big question. The answer, no. The plant goes down and now it's going to be a retake. Fleepox, there is one on just the other side of the unit. Trades galore. 1 versus 1. Ask what a round this guy has had so far. Fowls misses out on the shots. The stun goes out. Ask looking to try and juke him out here. Can he land it? Yes, he can. What a round from the rookie.
Man, okay, so I said earlier, you know, sometimes he'll have a round where he just seems to pop off. That was the round. That was such a good round for Ask, and that's really, really great to see. It's unfortunate that when they were on their defense, there were just a couple of rounds where he would be the first pick. He wouldn't really get to show what he was made of while playing on that like hard support on the defensive side. But here, so far on the attack, he's having a great time and showing what he's worth. But one thing I will say is you can't diminish how much of a problem MIBR were causing for Team Liquid in that round and the sort of war of attrition it became. And the most telling factor that supports that claim for me is how long it took for Team Liquid to get a plant down. You know, Team Liquid are that team that will go very quickly for plants. Their plant was really late in that round.
It was. They weren't really given any opportunity to get in there. I think that MIBR had probably gotten every last drop out of that denial that they were bringing. You know, they'd used the Toxic Babe canisters, they'd used the yokai drone, they even rotated one of the yokais back into sight from Wedding, where it was just sort of hanging out on the periphery of the site, and it really wasn't a give all very easy at all for Liquid, but to lose that first blood and then for it to come down to a 1 versus 1, it just shows how hard Liquid fought back there. A strong defensive round for them. Kind of strange to see MIBR go downstairs to the bakery and the kitchen site so soon, but they're going to be going upstairs this time. They're going to be taking us into that mid floor. So still not going to be choosing the top floor, the bar, which was Liquid's preference. I think that it's, whilst it's a great site, I think there are better sites on this map, and MIBR are really sort of leaning into that and forcing that vertical control.
It's a bit outdated. Team Liquid need to get with the times. That's what I think. Well, I think if I'm not mistaken, the mirror was the 6th pick, right? So I mean, they'll know about it by now, but this was sort of the ace up the sleeve that MIBR have decided to go for. Want a really strong hold on that upstairs. Now, the way that Nesk is kind of coming up the stairs behind, I'm wondering how the pressure that he can apply from a different angle will be able to work in conjunction with what Team Liquid are doing up on the top floor to clear that out as well. Once that top floor is done, even I think once you've gotten rid of Felipox, I think Team Liquid will have so much space that they need.
Liquid still just playing for a pick at the moment. We got Nesk is in the top of red stairs. Ass going to be on the rappel along with Palu, and it's going to be Nesk to find that first blood. Raps will fall. He does have an air jab on the stairs below him, so we can be fairly sure that he won't be flanked here, although Fowls might be giving it a go. Toxic Babe canisters being used to stop the threat on that rappel. We also saw PSK place an air jab outside of that window at the start of the round as well. So if Fowls does go for something, he may well get caught out in that as well. But it looks as though the repelled players have since moved. Fowls potentially instead going to be playing for, which he will have in his pocket. Felipox can provide him the information for that as well. Lucid is going to be able to take down Ass, the star of the show in the previous round. That's going to be the diffuser cold. It will need to be recovered here. The floor can start to be open, but with only 35 seconds left, Liquid haven't got a lot of time. 4 versus 4, albeit, but 30 seconds, it's not a lot of time to start getting that plant down, especially when you've still got key angles to open on the vertical, and you've got MIBR players that you're unsure of the location. Now, Nesk has dropped on into sight on the Iana clone, and he's seen that that is relatively clear, so I would not be surprised at all now if a drop comes through, and it will be. PSK makes his approach, finds a kill onto Felipox. Fowls, takes down Nesk, but PSK is going to try and stick that plan. Is there any cover? The answer is no. Last second stuff, Lucid finds resets. Still a chance there for Liquid, but there was not a lot of time remaining. Palu did what he could, but ultimately MIBR are going to take round number 8.
I actually thought the PSK was going to get away with putting that plant down as well.
So close.
It's a really kind of jammy spot because, of course, you're shielded from anybody who's going to be coming in from pillars, but the angle through into the corridor is really tight, and that's quite hard to get that direct line of sight. And he got really far through the plant as well, but as you noted, there just wasn't any cover. So once MIBR actually did make their way into the site and they found him, there was nothing to stop them from punishing that, and really no time to work with at all either. So again, we're evened out back in, I can sense this back and forth is going to be continuing for some time, Ollie. Team Liquid, they're going for the same kind of composition as they have done, but now we're going upstairs. This is for the tertiary site for MIBR to be bar and cocktail. Again, they've got a similar sort of idea of what a lot of teams are going for at the moment on this site, where there's just tons of root denial, I'm gonna say. That's what I'm gonna say. With something like an Aruni who's in there, you've also got the Vulcan shield. So much stuff that you've just got to burn through to even get through into the next room, into the next step. And of course, you know, having a Maestro who's likely going to be based over in Cocktail, You're gonna have those cameras out and about everywhere. This is really kind of like a step-by-step. You've just got to get through this room to reach this room, to reach this room, to reach this room. I'm curious how that's going to go with what it is that Team Liquid have brought. I mean, undoubtedly, they're going to be using those Hibana pellets once again to actually get through some of the Aruni gates and rely some more on the boosts from resets.
They've also got 12 flashbangs, which is a little bit ridiculous.
Oh my god, I didn't even...
Especially given how good flashes are now. For anyone that's unaware, they've changed the way that flashes work. So
They don't have 12 flashbangs, they have 9.
top bar says 12.
It's lying. Because you've got 4 nades.
That top bar's never right.
I'm
It
not
catches
sure
us out every week.
That's why I just don't look at it for the most part. I still don't know how to read it. Like, you see where the C4 is? It says 0 and 1. Does that mean the C4... So the C4 has not been used? Yeah, I don't know how to read the top bar.
Wouldn't comment. Don't want to comment on that. They have 9. They've still got a lot of flashes. It's more than anyone really needs. So, I don't know. Let's see if they're using. They should at least be able to burn through the majority of the utility. They've already been able to remove one of the Goyo shields. Lucid's taking a bit of damage there as well. Palu loves that repel spot on the south side. It's a really, really narrow angle. You'll often find him on it. At the moment, though, it hasn't yielded anything more than a little bit of chip damage. And Liquid do seem to be slowing down a bit.
Prisma's been removed. Most important player in the game. I like this position that Falz is holding behind the pallets with the Prisma on there. It gives him a lot more impunity to actually be able to look down around the corridor, but there's a nade coming straight for him. Lucid will actually fall to it instead. Falz does finally get revenge, but that was a bit touch and go there.
Kills continuing to trade. Liquid only briefly were on top of it all. 35 seconds left. Redux was in a great position to strike, but Ass comes in with the refrag. Grabs some fouls. What a work now to do. Fouls, he grabs the down and the skeleton key. It's at close range. Palu, he is able to land the shots. This is second on the round. 2 versus 1 now for Raps, and Palu finds him as well. Bit of Z ping information for him to be working from. But obviously putting the drones to excellent use there, and Palu just being used like a guided missile to find that last one.
Means Team Liquid are now just 1 round off of match point, but I feel like it's too easy to say that.
It's probably going to be
really
2 rounds.
mean anything.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean anything.
It's going to be 2 rounds, Gio. I guess the good thing is, because there's not been like a real heavy bias toward a particular site, I don't really think it matters who gets attack or defense if we do go to OT.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
So at least it's potential of an overtime where we really don't know what's going to go.
Like a genuine
like
overtime.
A genuine like
the
I wonder.
overtime you wish you had. Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. Well, now that we've actually started the cycle again, this is where we get to see if those adaptations that we were talking about in the first half are going to be coming in, because this is the first time that MIBR have returned to a site they've already been to. They are bringing those same operators that they did the first time. Now, they didn't actually win their defense. It was Team Liquid, and Team Liquid got a plant as well, but so much of that was just because of the way that Ask was playing.
Yeah, the last couple of rounds, he's really stepped himself up. And again, we're sort of left wanting out of resets. Cast our minds back to last week, and resets was the guy that was sitting at, around 1 and something again. It took him a long time to get his first kill, and it's kind of strange to see, because you can fly under the radar picking up 1 kill on a team like Liquid when you've got Palu and Nesk both on 10, Ask on 9, as the air quote support player, by the way. So you can just only imagine if Resets was having a slightly better game where this one would be, but we'll see if he's able to pick it up here. He's obviously providing a lot in terms of utility, particularly on these attacks with the Finker boosts and the nades that he brings as well. And Liquid going for a very direct approach here. Fal's playing a risky game. Those yokais were very valuable in the dying stages of the last time that we saw this site, so he really doesn't want to get caught out too early, but the longer he stays, the more difficult it's going to be to get out alive.
You see the ping coming up from behind the bakery counter. They know they've got to get rid of him. I think the one thing that you can take if you're Team Liquid here is... Oh, there we go. Nice headshot. That's nice and quick. I was going to say is the fact that Toxic Babe Canister has already been used. So there's only 2 left for Raps, and that's very early in the round to be using that kind of denial. Team Liquid can get going here on the bakery wall. Resets is providing support from outside. So they've got everything set up quite nicely to be working their way into the site. The nades coming in round and about. Raps is actually going to push up here onto the breach, ready for someone to come in, but he's still got to avoid those damn nades.
Liquid have done a great job of taking over that bakery and removing fouls nice and early. It's going to give them more time in the later part of the round. Another Toxic Babe Canister going to go out as a kill trade's 1-for-1. Resets, all I needed to do was say your name and you can start picking up kills. That's his second on the round. Nesk, he's going to be able to take down Raps as well. Redux and Lukid are all that remains. Redux going to make that rotation back down onto site, but cut off by Palu as he's actively watching the flank. Lukid, able to find one. Can he find 2? He can, but it's a direct trade. Resets, highlighted him at the start of the round, said he was having a quiet game. But who are you to say what is going on? Picks up 3, and that puts Liquid on match point.
That's going to be an incredibly frustrating one there for MIBR.
They just got outplayed.
That one's going to be annoying for them. But yeah, agreed. So we didn't wait 2 rounds for Team Liquid to get to match point, Ollie. Ha! I was right. They could still bring things back. This was the site that MIBR did win their defense on. But if you remember correctly, PSK actually got pretty far with the plant. So Team Liquid could feasibly have taken this. It was just kind of a timing thing to an extent. Obviously, you can place blame on the fact that they didn't have anybody around to be able to support that plant. You can't just say it was, oh yeah, the timing was unlucky. Well, you should have had someone alive. But the point that I'm making is that Team Liquid did get very close to winning that round. So I don't think that if you're MIBR, you can take too much overconfidence in the fact that you won this one before.
Yeah.
You're still going to have to fight for it just as much as you have with any other round. Now, I suspect that they're going to be going for pretty much the same idea that they did last time. They've got this 6-pick mirror once again. So they're going to be setting up strong on the top floor, which was a place that Team Liquid did a pretty good job of taking. It was only once they had to finally make that drop down into the site that time started to wane. Now, if I'm MIBR, I think one of the changes that should be made is having someone more strongly holding onto the site itself, because Nesk being able to discover that the site was open is what allowed Team Liquid their route in when they made the drop, because it was so late in the round that had someone been there, they probably wouldn't have even been able to make it that far. So I'm curious to see if that's something MIBR are going to fix. Nesk getting the first kill, though, makes things look pretty good for Team Liquid.
Sends a bit of a message when you just send Nesk running in as the solo entry there just to find the first one. Obviously had a bit of an idea of where Fowles was, or maybe got a little bit lucky. We only flashed onto it at the last second. Lukid sits right, resets down as he gets taken out there on the rappel. Great shot. Not an easy one to hit at all, but the benefit of taking the FMG instead of the shotgun SMG combo there, you're just able to challenge a little bit more distance. The first blood has been neutralized, and it's the nades and the health giver that have been taken away. Nesk, of course, will still have 2 nades. Alu, raid mark spot. South rappel on the window. Trying to do something about Lukid. Lukid playing in that bathroom. He can obviously be naded out of there, but as we all know, Book does not have grenades. Philippox is tempted for a peek here, but he needs to be very careful. Upside down rappel, never an easy angle to challenge onto, but both players are able to pass. So Philippox there has arguably done the job. He's freed Lukid up, and Lukid can start to make a rotation.
Yeah, that's good, because I think it means that that opening kill onto Fowles is a lot less impactful now, especially given that it's your Finker who has been brought down on the side of Team Liquid. And a lot of teams have been relying on that Finker quite a bit to make their plays. Musa means you've just got one more nade to rely upon. Oh, that was really unfortunate timing there, but the backwards and forwards keep happening. Ask once again, collecting those kills in. Team Liquid have a slight man advantage. Rigda is just ready with the C4 in case anybody's going to move into the site, but we're at a standstill right now.
Unfortunate there for PSK. Does get taken out by Lukid. Lukid's having a cracking round. Levels things up now. Redux still the C4 in pocket, but will be detonated. Ask knows that there's going to be a player inside of that laundry, but does he know that there's going to be a player on the hatch as well? Nesk certainly seems to, as Redux is going to be the next player to fall. Now, can the vertical angle be found here? There's 6 seconds to try and get this plant down. Toxic Babe Canister going to cut off his own vision, as Ask is going to be successful in planting this diffuser. It's now being held. He's got Nesk, and he's got himself to keep hold of this. Lukid on the retake. Got one Toxic Babe Canister left. Might choose to use it, and will. Blocks off that 90, but we know that there's going to be nobody there. Both the players for Liquid are actually inside of the site. Ask hasn't moved too far off the plant. Finds one, but immediately gets taken on out. A great post plant there from Liquid. They knew exactly where he was going to be coming from. That's going to wrap up the game. Liquid going to take this one 7-4.
It's actually crazy looking at that scoreline because I don't feel like it really reflects the game that we just watched. But Team Liquid, they just kind of carried that momentum forward, particularly in that second half when they were on the attack. And I don't think MIBR's defense could really stand up to them quite enough. And especially, I have to say, it is almost ironic that Ask, who looked like he was struggling a little bit at the beginning of the game, I wondered, is he going to have a bad map? We're still looking for this guy to sort of prove himself and his spot on this roster. And then he came through for the rest of the game and really popped off, like had an absolutely fantastic game. So that was definitely nice to see because, you know, he's still kind of holding up this can he fill Sexy Cake's shoes mantle? You know what I mean? And he proved today, at the very least, that yes, he can.
Yeah. And big shoes to fill. You know, you've got a lot to be doing there, especially when you're going to start to be getting compared. And it's not something that we've tried to do too directly, but some of the comparisons are a little bit uncanny. And it's obvious that he really is starting to try and fill that role. We're going to bring Riley back on in. And have a bit of a further discussion about the game we've just seen and maybe line up an interview with Liquid.
Good to be back, yes, indeed. And a performance there was in the back half of that match from Liquid was much better. Neck and neck there, Geo, to begin with, trading one game against the other there. But I mean, I'm going to ask this of whoever we end up interviewing as well. But what do you think changed there for Liquid for them to gain that momentum in the back half of the map?
Well, a big part of it is just, you know, with the side switch, of course, I just don't think MIBR felt as comfortable on their defense as they did on their attack. But I think that Liquid kept seeing these things that MIBR were doing and improving on them, and it's something that MIBR stopped being able to keep up with. MIBR were bringing their same defensive strategy every single round, which I thought might be something of a mistake because if you don't, I get it, like there's two sides that you can look at that, but I thought maybe that their best bet against Team Liquid would be to at least change it up slightly in each round to sort of get one step ahead of Team Liquid and sort of be that kind of mentally ahead of them. But for Team Liquid, if they see what operator lineup you're bringing, they see you're doing the same setup as before, they're just gonna do the same thing they did before but better.
Looks like we're going to have an interview lined up with the analyst here from Team Liquid. So as soon as we're ready to move forward with that, we'll bring them on. And a couple of different things to ask here, Ollie. I'm sure there's some stuff that you're wanting to pick apart here, but really, you know, for me, what I'm looking at here from Liquid is them getting back to where they used to be, right? We've talked about them consolidating, we've talked about them rebuilding after a roster change, and this is a step in the right direction for them, steadying the ship a little bit, moving to 3-2 in the round, and solidifying their position as we head towards the Cobra Elite 6.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, you know, again, it's that development that Liquid are going to be looking for, right? They're going to be looking to further develop, and every bit of new experience that they can get playing as this new team, air quotes, is really going to be quite welcome. And, you know, I mean, when you've got Nesk and Palu popping off, there's only a little bit of a gap that needs to be filled there. There's something like 36 kills for the top 3 players there, and Ask was in and amongst that conversation. So it really can't be understated how much of a good game he's had.
All right, looks like we do have an interview lined up. Let's get underway here and have a chat with Team Liquid about the performance that we've just seen from them there. Be able to bring in, as we said, the analyst here from Team Liquid here, Mikuna. Congratulations on the win, first of all, and thanks so much for finding the time to join us. Things look pretty even in the first half of that map. What changed for you guys to bring it home in the back half?
Yeah, so can you hear me? It's okay?
Yeah, we got you. Yep.
So we knew we were going to play Kafe. We knew about how aggressive they play, and they played exactly the same strategies on attack and defense. So we entered the game a little anxious, and in the midterm, we thought that they only can they all the rounds they got us, they win from us was when they aggressive in the mid round, the final round. So we start to breathe, simple breathe and wait, then to make mistakes and punish them and capitalize kills.
Makina, I'm really interested because one of the things that we noticed at the start, of course, was that instead of having any kind of flank watch ban like a Nomad, it was a Flores that was taken out instead. Do you think that it hurt MIBR to then not play that Nomad? Because it was something that you guys did. You played the Nomad when you were on attack, but MIBR chose not to do that.
They usually don't play Nomad, so we are prepared to play with and without Nomad. So we kept Nomad. We used Nomad to give some comfort to us, and I think these somehow countered the aggressive. We could play unilateral plays. We don't need to full control the whole map. So in that way, they had less opportunities to aggressive us, to make surprise and that kind of play. So Nomads we don't need to ban because they weren't playing. So we start to use it to get some advantage.
Look, I just wanted to firstly say welcome. Like, I think it's the first time that we've had you on the show, so it's great to have you on. But in terms of a question, I just wanted to ask you for your preparation and stuff. Obviously, you've got Ask and Resets now on the roster instead of Sexy Cake and Moringa. Has that done anything to sort of boost morale, or is like some sort of fresh ideas coming into the team? Is that something that is like a really exciting energy that you can now start to work with and really start to put a lot of time and effort in? Because we've noticed there has been a bit of a change, obviously, in the playstyle and the way that you guys are approaching matches.
Yeah, so with the addition of these two guys, we try to be more aggressive because we were a very coordinated team, one of the best in the world, but we weren't being we haven't a good fragging potential. So we brought Ask because in the second division he was on the top, one of the top fraggers and being a support. So we brought him because he's a IGL too, so he brings some fresh ideas. And Reset, he's some kind of wonder kid. So we are not only thinking about today, but in the future too, because it's a project. So in the long term, we had them too. They are 18 both, I guess. So it's good for today and for the 4 years ahead.
Longer term plans there. Interesting to hear about that. Well, Mikuna, thank you so much for joining us, and the best of luck to you and the boys tomorrow against Furia.
Thank you.
Great to have Mikuna join us there, and interesting again to get some of the perspectives on this new Liquid lineup as we see the team develop, as we see them consolidate their position here. It is interesting to see the way that things are progressing. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. We've got our next match coming up your way. Ints versus Furia is up next, my friends. Have a quick look at some of the highlights we've just seen from this round. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more Rainbow Six Siege after this.